Okay, good morning and welcome to everyone, and thank you for joining this webinar all about the West of England Made Smarter programme. Just to let you know, this will be recorded and we'll be making it available after the meeting along with the slides, so if you miss anything, don't worry. We've got a lot to get through, so we'll be having a Q&A session at the end, so please feel free to put your questions in the chat and we'll try to answer as many of those at that point. So today we're going to be running through what Made Smarter programme is and the details of its component parts, namely the one-to-one digital acceleration sessions, the leadership and management training, the student internships, and the grant funding scheme. So before we do that, it's probably a good idea if we introduce ourselves. So my name is Andrew Aidney. I'm the Digital Engineering Technical Advisor for the West of England Combined Authority on Made Smarter. I'm also the Project Manager for National Composite Centre delivery of the one-to-one sessions on this programme. And I'm also the Programme Manager for a programme called DETI, which is Digital Engineering, Technology and Innovation. So, Leander, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Leander Woodbridge. I'm the project manager for Made Smarter from UE, and I am broadly responsible for the internships that I'll be talking to you about a bit later.
Bliss?
Yeah, hi. So I'm Bliss Cargill. I'm one of the business development managers here at UE Bristol. My main responsibility is around skills and skills development, both with our SME and wider business and local community. So within the programme, I'll be talking about our leadership programme and just how those skills can really benefit you and take your business forwards.
And Daniel.
Thank you. My name is Daniel Thorpe, and I am the project manager here at the West of England Combined Authority. And I am leading and coordinating the full project management of the Made Smarter project. And today I'm going to be talking to you around the grant funding scheme, which is being delivered by us, the West of England Combined Authority.
Thank you very much. So, what is Made Smarter? Well, it's a version of the National Made Smarter programme hosted and funded by the West of England Combined Authority. So it's slightly different in its makeup, but in terms of its content, it's exactly the same as the national programme. It has been running since August of last year and will be running until March of 2025. So how can Made Smarter help your business? Well, excuse me, in a couple of ways, really. It's all about providing advice and support to help businesses implement digital technologies, to automate elements of their business that are currently disjointed or entirely manual. It's also all about providing data and analytics to help planning and decision making. And then finally, and perhaps most importantly of all, it's all about reducing cost and waste and increasing responsiveness to improve profitability and competitiveness. The eligibility criteria to come onto the programme, and there are some other criteria later on, but to join the programme in the first place, the sort of fundamental one is that the business must be a producer of physical items using industrial processes. By that I mean producing physical items in the house. It must be a business in the Bristol, Bath and North East Somerset and South Gloucester Authority regions. It must have between 2 and 249 employees or full-time equivalents. And it must have a turnover of between 75,000 and 36 million. So those are the basic requirements. Now, it might be useful just to quickly run through the process that you go through as you enter the programme and then later on once you're in it. So in order to get involved, the first step is to submit an expression of interest form on either the Combined Authority website or the Growth Hub website. Following that, there are some eligibility checks, one of which is a discussion. You'll have the dubious pleasure of having a phone call with me to just explore whether there's a good fit between the program and your business, so that you get the relevant level of value out of the program. And then once that happens, the program itself begins in earnest. And that starts with NCC's delivery section, which are the one-to-one digital acceleration sessions, which we'll talk about in a second. And then having done those, you then become eligible for one or more of 3 support measures. The first 2 of these are delivered by UWE. Those are the digital leadership training course and the student internships. And then from the combined authority, there's the opportunity to have a match funded grant as well. So I often get asked, well, what work are you already doing in my industry? And so I just thought it'd be useful to put up this slide just to show the diversity of companies that we're working with and the industries that we're working in. So you can see that already we're working in everything from automotive to aerospace through furniture manufacture and food and cosmetics manufacture. So all sorts of different companies. And so there's every chance that there will be a very strong parallel with whatever it is that your business is engaged in. So the one-to-one sessions, which is, as I say, delivered by National Composite Centre, and this is effectively the front end of the program, and it is essentially a diagnostic process and consists of up to 4 2-hour sessions, the first of which is usually a site visit. And the purpose of that is for us to get a really good feel of what the company does and how it does it. What are the day-to-day operations that are going on? What are your sort of short-term strategies? What do you want to be doing in the short and medium term? And then to start to look at where are the pain points? What are the things that you think are working well, and what are the things that perhaps you think aren't working so well and could benefit from some improvement? And then that will result in 3 or 4 areas of potential focus. And the subsequent sessions are really all about refining that down further and further to a point where we then have enough information to be able to fit some solutions to that. So after the 3rd session, we will then hand all of that information over to our digital engineers in NCC, and they will come up with a series of solutions to meet those needs, or potential solutions at least, to meet those needs. And then in the 4th session, we will sit down with you again and go through those, and you can look at them and say, well, given where I am with the business right now and knowing what's coming up, what our strategy is, I think I'd like to focus on this particular area. And so we will then take that away and write a report around it, which contains effectively a roadmap. So you'll then have a short, a medium term, and perhaps a long term horizon to look at. So it gives you the kinds of solutions and areas of digital that you could be looking at in those timeframes. So what might those solutions actually look like? I often get asked what is meant by digital. And in this context, what it means is it means 2 things. Anything that will enhance the efficiency of your manufacturing operations through deployment of digital. So that could be on the hardware side, it could be equipment or whatever, or it could be digital solutions around your equipment. So forms of automation, for example. We might be looking at additive manufacturing, or 3D printing, as it's sometimes called. And this list is by no means exhaustive. It's just some examples so that you've got a good feel for the kinds of things. It might mean high pressure water jet cutting, CNC controlled. Another one that we're looking at with a couple of companies is laser etching and cutting. It might even involve vision systems to collect data on either on your shop floor or in dispatch or in goods in to minimize the potential areas of data loss and incorrect data loading, that kind of thing, so that you've got a much better grasp of what is actually happening around your shop, whether it's actually on the manufacturing floor or whether it's in dispatch or goods in or whatever. These things can also be deployed for quality inspection, so you can automate elements of your quality processes and take the human out of the equation, or even have a hybrid system which augments human inspection. So those are a couple of options. It might also include implementing barcode reading around your shop and then goods in and dispatch. And then finally, it might even go so far as to deploy augmented reality for things like work instructions or training. So those are the kinds of things that might come out of it in terms of physical assets. But the other side of the equation is that it can also encompass what I like to call the back office functions. In other words, all of the processes in the business that go towards supporting your manufacturing operations. So it could be anything from sales order processing right through works order processing, all the way into materials management and then pack and dispatch. So anything in that whole arena. Now that could be something which encompasses the entire gamut of processes. In other words, an enterprise resource planning system, of which these are the top 4. But as you can see, there's a whole raft of other ones, each of which has their own little attributes and weaknesses. So we can certainly help you to hone in on the best one for your particular application. However, it may not involve an all-encompassing system like that, and by any stretch of the imagination, that is a big step for any company to take. It might involve elements of those processes. So you could, for example, look at how you manage your interactions with your customers and how you gather data and manage data between them. So that's something called a customer relations management program. It could involve stock control and materials management. We've already talked about the barcoding options and such like, but there are you don't have to go down the barcoding road. There are pieces of software which will manage it as well. You might want to get involved in software planning for your shop floor and progress tracking throughout the manufacturing process. Or it could involve things like what I'd like to call design to quoting system, which is if you, for example, come up with a new design in your drawing office, which perhaps is the result of customer requirements. How do you then get that information from your design office and your CAD system into a form where you can collate it and create a quote from it? And there are methods for transferring data between drawing offices and quoting systems, which can begin to automate that process. And obviously, that's really all about responsiveness, because you want to get the quote out as quickly as possible back to your customer before he goes cold on the idea. It might also involve design to machine. So how do you, in the same instance, how do you get that data from your drawing office, your new design, which might be a 3D CAD design? How do you get that down onto your shop floor in terms of the bill of materials? How do you get that into goods in? How do you get that to your purchasing department so they can go out and buy it? How do you create works orders from that? And ultimately, possibly, how do you transfer that three-dimensional design into machine code where a machine can actually start cutting material and making things? And how do you do that in the most efficient manner, rather than having people having to download and print things and wander down to the shop floor and make things happen. So we're trying to streamline the whole process of moving data from one part of the business to another, in effect. Another thing we get asked about is how can we streamline the collection of customer requirements, because this is very often in a lot of small companies, it's all about emails, it's all about phone discussions. So we've been looking at customer portals, either part of the company's own website or a separate portal where the customer can go on there, put in their requirements, and it all gets through to usually the sales and design departments. Again, streamlining that process. Of course, there are many companies out there that are obliged to have phone conversations. They have to do that. But this is just something to augment that. And then possibly you might look at packaging and shipping management. In other words, how do you know what's gone out, when it's gone out? How do you know whether your driver has done a particular drop? How does that trigger your invoicing? Again, trying to automate as much of that as possible. And then finally, compliance and record keeping, which is, again, not an exhaustive list, but this compliance thing is something that comes up quite often in areas like healthcare or food manufacturing, or even in cosmetics manufacturing, for example, where there are government requirements for record keeping. And it's very difficult sometimes for small companies to gather that data and record it in a cohesive manner so it can all be kept together. And then more importantly, how can they access that data at some point in the future should they need to do so? So that's really the basis of the digital acceleration session. So you would come out of that with one or more potential solutions in these particular areas, or indeed other areas if it's appropriate to do so. So at this point, you're now armed with your report from the one-to-ones and your roadmap. And at that point, you become eligible for the 3 support measures, the first of which is the leadership and management training. And I'm going to ask Fliss if she can talk us through that.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. So if we go down, we got a leadership management program, as we said, and really the focus of this is looking at taking technological change and how you can lead that within your organisation. The program's been jointly designed by the School of Engineering and Bristol Business School here at UWE, and it's really aimed at more senior leaders or people with decision-making capacity in the making and manufacturing sector. The aim of it is to provide knowledge, tools, and connections and skills for you to really effectively lead and develop those practices for driving that change you're looking to implement. The programme offers a holistic approach in understanding future technologies and how to translate these into business value. So through the sessions, you'll be looking at what technologies are available and exploring them further, but also the business side of how to actually implement them and make them a success. In terms of the actual structure, you'll see from the diagram available here, there are 6 in-person modules which will be held at Frenchay campus. Each module really unpick a particular area of the industry, technologies available, or that business implementation side of it. And you'll be working with a peer group to really explore that and think about, for your organisation, what does that mean? Alongside these, there'll also be a number of online materials that you'll be accessing, which will help you really think about the background of that information and how you can take that forwards. One of the exciting things is, with being on the campus, we also have a number of facilities here. So through that sessions, you'll also be looking at some of our technologies we have available, such as our VR cave and our automation robotic arms. So you'll really be able to see some of those technologies taking place and how they can actually be implemented. From completing this session, there's actually a project element at the end, which I'll speak about a little bit later. But from this, you'll also receive a digital badge, so you'll really be able to actually showcase your own professional development within the programme, as well as having that practical implementation for the business as well. Next slide, please, Andrew.
Sorry, went too far.
Yeah, perfect, thanks. So yeah, just thinking about really why attend, what would be the time, because we appreciate this is time out of your diary. But really, as you can see, it's going to give you a chance to step away from your organisation and really think about where you're wanting to take that business and utilise technology to really support you in your growth and development. As well as that, you will be working with our academics who are experts in this area and can really help you think about what that landscape looks like for you and move forwards. As much as that, we appreciate you've also then got the opportunity to network with a really like-minded group of people from other organisations who are probably facing similar challenges or looking at similar opportunities to really drive their business forwards. Next slide, thanks. So as I mentioned, there is a project element within the programme towards the end, and really this will be taking sort of your acceleration sessions and that opportunity you're wanting to take forward and thinking about how do you do that through utilising live case studies. You'll have one-to-one sessions with one of our academics who are an expert in that area, and you'll be able to really focus then on how you develop those next steps beyond the programme to actually take that opportunity forward. In terms of the areas Andrew mentioned earlier, the kind of solutions that might be available, it will really be based on what it is that you want to achieve post the project and take into your business. And the final slide. So in terms of sort of next steps or practicalities, we've got 2 cohorts that will be running for this programme, one this autumn and one spring next year. The places will be limited to a max of 20, and really the purpose of that is to ensure that you have that time in the sessions to really explore and engage with your own personal circumstances. In terms of the fees, there will be a £500 charge for up to 2 members of staff to enrol. We can take more from an organisation, but there would be the full fee required of £2,500. Thank you. And I will pass over to Leander now, I believe, talk about internships.
Thank you, Fliss. So as Fliss mentioned, I'm here to speak about internships that can be offered by UE through the Made Smarter programme. We've got 17 internships that will be available until March 2025. And those will consist of 12 weeks of full-time work for the intern within the business, but it would also consist of 6 academics days of support, which is quite unusual within an internship programme offered by UE. Next slide, please. So what are the benefits really of having an intern within your business? So it's recognised through Made Smarter that the skills to implement technological changes might not actually exist within the business currently. So the intern can come in to help you to adopt technological tools. They can help with boosting productivity and efficiencies. They can help you with some research and development resource that you might not otherwise have time to look at. They can increase the knowledge within your business and also the opportunity to give that knowledge to some of your employees as well. It gives you the opportunity as well to foster a relationship with UE and also to give interns some real world experience of working within an SME and within the industry in which they're interested. Next slide, please. So what can you expect? Well, the internships are fully funded. They need to be project-based and looking at a specific business challenge that your business is facing. We have hundreds of students that have registered their interest, and many of those have a wide range of skills, which include robotics, mechanical engineering, computing, software, and many, many more. And as mentioned, you would also be able to have academic supervision throughout the internship, as well as support during the recruitment process. to be able to ensure that you are attracting the very best and the most appropriate talent to help you to support that business challenge that you may have. Next slide, please. So we're currently working with a number of businesses at the moment. Andrew touched upon the different sectors that we are working with, many of which are looking at internships either for this summer or for next summer, or even working throughout the academic year. A number of different skills are required. So we're looking at database development and analysis for one of our businesses, which is an aerospace supplier. We're working with a bakery who are looking to align their supply chain and their customer order systems. Our vertical farm, we're looking at new harvesting technologies that Andrew touched on earlier. And a pump manufacturer who are looking for database development, CAD modeling, and data capture analysis. So as you can see, there's a variety of different sectors that we're working with, a variety of different academics who are able to bring their expertise to those sectors, and also a variety of different interns who are able to bring their skills to your business, whilst also gaining some relevant work experience for themselves as well. And now I'm going to pass you over to Daniel to speak about the grant schemes.
Thanks so much, Leander, and thanks so much all for your presentations. As you've mentioned, I'm going to talk to you now around the grant funding scheme, which is the last of the support measures you could receive thanks to the Made Smarter project. So now I'm going to go through the eligibility criteria, the length of the project that you can deliver, what can and can't the funding be used for. And again, I'm going to talk to you a bit around the process of the application for the grant funding scheme and the claim process after you finish your project. So what is the eligibility criteria? Andrew has already spoken about these two first points already, but just to remind you, you need to be a small, medium enterprise. This is, you need to employ less than 249 staff members, and you must have a turnover of less than £36 million. And you also need to be registered in or be trading in the West of England Combined Authority area. In addition to this, you also must have completed successfully the one-to-one digital acceleration sessions, which are being delivered by the National Composite Center. So what this means is that you cannot directly apply for the grant funding scheme. You must go through the entire process of the project. So you must complete the one-to-one digital acceleration sessions. And after that, the National Composite Center might signpost you to the grant funding scheme, and then you will be able to apply for this grant funding scheme. You, as an SME, should be able to provide 50% match funding of the total project costs to deliver the project that you're aiming to deliver. So, as an SME, how much funding can I apply for? We are offering businesses in the West of England region funding up to £20,000, which need to be 50% match funded by the organisation of the total project costs. Next slide, please. Thank you. So what can and can't the grant be used for? Let me remind you, as Andrew has said at the very beginning, that we are aiming to support manufacturers, producers, or makers, which do have any sort of in-house production processes in place and are producing basically any sort of physical items. So our aim is to improve these production processes, and this will be done by the adoption of industrial digital technologies, sorry, which is what nowadays is called Industry 4.0. We have already given a number of examples of these sort of technologies, but just to remind you a bit again, we are talking around anything around 3D printers, system integration technology, computer aiding tools, enterprise resource planning systems, etc. So anything like this will be covered as part of the grant. So in a nutshell, we can say that any software or hardware costs directly related to the delivery or the implementation of the project will be eligible, Any bespoke and off-the-shelf solutions will be eligible as well. And finally, certain services such as software licenses up to 12 months will be eligible as well as part of this project. We will send you a follow-up email with a more detailed list of what the eligible items are and which ones are not eligible. But in terms of the ineligible costs, just to flag a few of them, labor costs will not be eligible as part of this scheme. Consumables and materials would not be eligible either. And finally, just to give an example of this, travel and subsistence costs would not be eligible as part of the Made Smarter funding scheme. So, which is the duration of your project? Your project should last no longer than 12 months, and all funding should be completed by the 1st of January 2025. This means that if you submit your application after the 1st of January 2024, you'll have less than 12 months to deliver your project, because all funding schemes and grant claims need to be submitted by the 1st of January 2025 maximum. And I wanted to talk to you today a bit around the application process and the grant claim process as well, because we get a number of questions around these 2 points. So once you have completed your your one-to-one acceleration sessions with the National Composite Center, if you are eligible, you will be sent posted to the grant funding scheme, and you'll receive an application form which you will need to submit to us for us to review. A panel will assess your application, and if we think it's eligible and is valid, we'll send it to the West of England Combined Authority Chief Executive Officer, who will then approve your application, and then the Made Smarter team will send you the grant offer letter. Once you receive the grant offer letter, this means that you can officially commence your project and you can start delivery of your project. In terms of the grant claim and the payment, this will be done in arrears. So this means that once you have completed your project and once you've got all your expenses for the costs of the delivery of your project, you will be in a position to submit to us your claim form. That claim form should include all costs and evidence, and then once you submit this to us, the team will review your grant claim, and once this is approved, we'll make the payment in arrears based on all your expenses and grant claim. That's all I wanted to say today around the grant funding scheme. So if you have got any questions around the grant funding scheme or anything that we have been talking about today, please post your questions in the chat, and we can answer them today, or we can get back to you by email as a follow-up. So Nadine, I think you have been monitoring the chat, so I don't know if there are any questions for any of the panelists, and if there are, we are more than happy to take them now, and if not, we'll just get back to you, any of you, by email.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions in the Q&A. So the first one, is the training course regulated and can it be attended online?
If I take that one. So the training program isn't officially accredited through the university in terms of any formal assessment. However, there will be checkpoints throughout to really help ensure that you're understanding the content we're going through and how you can apply this. What we do have is the badge, the digital badge, which you'll be giving at the end through your attendance, which really shows the details of the program, the robustness of the learning you've received. In terms of attending online, we have got this as a hybrid program, so there will be a significant amount of content you'll be able to access online. However, we have integrated in-person days, as we feel these are really important for both you to come and actually work as a peer group together, but also to access, like we said, our facilities on the campus, so you can really see the type of technologies that you can bring into your organisation. Thanks.
Thanks, Fliss. Second question, how long does it usually take for a business to be awarded the grant from the claim being submitted?
I'll take that one. So usually businesses, once they submit the grant claim, they will try to take up to 30 days max to make the payment of the grant claim. This sometimes can take less, sometimes longer, but we aim to make the payment in 30 days.
And can a project be delivered that it has a higher value than 40k, even if the grant is 50% match funded up to 20k?
I'll take that one as well. Yes, businesses will be able to deliver projects which have got a value of more than £40,000. But we will only be able to provide businesses grants up to £20,000. So the rest of the funding must be covered by the company that is willing to deliver the project. But yes, for sure, businesses can deliver projects with a higher value than £40,000.
Thank you. And the last question, can I apply for more than one intern to deliver more than one project?
Thank you for that. I'll take this one. So the number of internships that are available are limited to 17. And so businesses are only able to apply for one intern to deliver one project over the course of the Made Smarter project.
Thank you. That's all the questions.
Okay, thanks so much, Nadine. If there are any further questions, or anyone has got anything else that wants to talk to us about, please feel free to get back to us on our email address. We will be more than happy to get in touch with you. You've got there the access to the webpage, so you can check and find out for more information. So I just want to say thank you all for joining today, for your questions, and I hope you really find this session interesting. As I've said before, we'll send you a follow-up email with the slides, project documentation. I will give you access to the webpage where you will be able to submit your application form if you think this project could be eligible for you and interesting for your business. And I also wanted to thank you all the panelists for joining us today. Thank you to the Made Smarter team who have organized the webinar, and thank you for helping us organize the whole session. So hope to see you soon, and if you are interested, please do submit your UI expression of interest form and do send it to anyone who you think could be eligible for the project. I will be willing to participate on the program. Thank you all and have the good rest of the day.